today we're going to service this Z150 drop-off free ride. It kind of has two names to it. This one's missing the decals. We usually say Marzocchi and Z150 on the other side. And some tools you're going to need are some Allen keys, adjustable wrench, 11 mil wrench, custom 12 millimeter socket. I'll get to that later. And a pick. And first thing we're going to do is just loosen up this top cap here, put it on the loosest setting. And this one you can just put anywhere. It's to adjust to travel. So I grab these little bolts and screw them off. Alright, so now we got the top caps off and there's a little air valve right here. Just grab your pick and take all the air out. Alright, so now we're at the bottom of the fork. We're going to loosen up these foot nuts here. But if you get a regular 12 mil socket, it doesn't fit in here because Marzocchi is evil and they created a proprietary tool to take these off so they can sell you it. And of course they don't make it anymore, so you got to make your own. You just grab a shitty socket and you got to grind it down. And that's the only way you can have one that fits. There you go. And if you're wondering, you want to grind it down to about 15.8 millimeters. That's about how much it would be. So yeah, that's the big bummer about this fork. But yeah, if you have one of these, then go ahead and just crack them loose. Now these could be kind of hard to get off, but if you're having trouble, that means the shaft is spinning while you're trying to loosen it up. So just compress the fork down while you're loosening it, and that should help. And also remember, once you take these off, the oil is going to want to come out, so you want to have a bucket handy. All right, so now we've got the foot nuts off. As you can see, you can just push these damper rods in and this will come off like that. But we're not going to do that yet. I can actually smell the oil, so we know it's going to come out soon. Grab your bucket and flip it over. You see it's kind of starting to pour out a little bit already. Just kind of slowly tap the lowers off. There it goes. So as the oil is draining, you can just pop the lowers off as well. I'd wait like a minute or so. Just pop them off. There you go. Alright, so as the oil's draining out, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the top cap. Alright, so as you saw, we got these damper rods out together with the springs. I already got one of these taken apart. I'll show you how to do it. It's kind of hard to see at first, but there's this little red nut here, which takes an 11 mil wrench, and this thing just kind of screws onto it, and the spring goes over it. So you want to get an 11 mil wrench through the spring to loosen that up, and you want to have a adjustable wrench on the top cap. All right, so this one here has a spacer on it. As you can see, that's that red nut there that you want to get onto. Put your 11 mil on there, and you want to grab your adjustable. And just go ahead and loosen this thing and it should come apart. There you go. Boom. And now once you got everything off, you want to get this oil, you want to kind of drain it over the bucket. If it's already gone, just kind of leave it alone, just kind of pump it around. Try to get as much oil out as you can, and then you can also play around with this little adjuster here, which I believe does the travel. So yeah, you can just see this one moves nice and smoothly, and then the other one kind of, it's like a negative rebound kind of thing. Check it out, pretty cool. All right, so now we're going to direct our attention to the lowers. We're going to talk about the seals. As you can tell, obviously they're cracked. This kind of just tells you how old they are. So obviously we're going to replace them, but if they're not cracked and they're still holding oil, I would just leave them alone. And then just grab a wrench. We have our 12 mil here and just pop it out. There you go. And then after that, we have our bomber clip. These are pretty easy to get out. They're not too hard. Grab your pick, kind of just nudge them out. You can see all the corrosion on there. These have been here for so long. And they fly out. There you go. And now we have the other oil seal. These can be a little harder to get out. I always like to put like a paper towel or like a rag just right here so you don't screw up this little edge. Alright, so we got the oil seal out. Nothing's damaged, so that's good. Now we have our little washer down here, and yeah, that's it. All right, so now we got everything taken apart. Now it's time to do some cleaning. For these damper rods, again, you just want to Cycle all the oil out and clean them off with some alcohol to the best of your ability, because you can't take apart the internals, which sucks. And also on this one, you can actually take it apart further. There's the compression or rebound knob. You just unscrew that, and you just take it out all the way. Make sure you clean that off. And yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of oil that pours out of here, so yeah. Yeah, so for all the damper rod stuff, just get it all nice and cleaned down with some alcohol. And yeah, for the lowers, you wanna get like a paper towel, and you have some pliers, these long pliers I have, or you can use a screwdriver. You wanna wet this up with some acetone, and you wanna clean down on the lowers where all the bushings are. And you especially wanna clean down low at the very bottom, because that's where all the dirt accumulates. And for the stanchions, same story. You just want to grab some alcohol or acetone. I do alcohol first and then acetone later. You just grab them and kind of clean these out nice and good, like that. And these are steel stanchions, so there is a bit of corrosion on them. So you can use some like aluminum foil to take that off just very lightly. And they are kind of worn down here, but they weren't leaking oil, so they're still hanging on. All right, so we got the lowers nice and cleaned out. I already got one side in. We got the new seals. These are the 32 mil seals from SRP. Again, you can use my code RETROREV for 10% off on these, and yeah, let's go put them in. All right, so first thing, we have our washer. Just go ahead and pop it in. So we got our washer on. You want to clean out that area nice and good. And also, time to do the oil seal. I always like to put a little bit of SRAM butter on the outside and some on the inside, just to help it kind of drive in a little bit smoother. So you go ahead, pop it in. I got this nice seal press here, and push it down. But my oil seal actually bottoms out on those ridges there, so I can't push this thing all the way down. And a great hack is if you have the Spectro Golden oil, the cap off of it is perfect for driving in a 32 mil seal. So yeah, go ahead, pop that on, and then just get a hammer and hammer it down right here. Yeah, just get that nice and hammered down, and you want to go in like a circular motion so you drive it in evenly. And once you're done, it'll actually be perfectly flush with the top of the lower. You want to make sure it's not on there crooked, so this is how you make sure. You'll see it in line with the top of the lower, and yeah, there you go. Now just pop it off, and you'll have enough space to put on the clip. There you go. All right, so now we've got our bomber clip. Go ahead and pop these in, like so. These are pretty easy to pop in. They're not very difficult. You can just do it with your hand pretty much. There you go, now it's popped into the groove all the way. And now we've got our wiper seal, and it just goes on the same way. Go ahead and drive it in. Yeah, the wiper seal is a lot easier to drive in. You just want that lip of the seal to be, again, flush with the top of the lower. And yeah, you're all good. Just make sure it's not crooked. All right, so we've got everything all nice and cleaned down. Just cycled out all the oil out of these damper rods. Just get them cleaned out with some alcohol. Make sure they move nice and smooth. You also have these bottom foot nuts. These sit at the bottom of the fork where all the dirt accumulates. So you want to pop off this O-ring and just clean under there and put it back together. And put some SRAM butter on it as well. And yeah, that's another thing you're going to need for the rebuild is some SRAM butter. And now just grab your compression rod if you took it out. And go ahead and screw it back in. Just make sure it's really clean. And yeah, there you go. Alright, so now grab your lowers. You want to put some SRAM butter on them. You don't need too much because this fork runs on oil. This is just to prevent some wear when you're putting it on. We also have our travel indicator spacer O-ring thing. I like to put it on the drive side, just kind of my thing. And just grease it up, grease up the stanchions, make sure they're really clean. Clean them off with some brake cleaner, and then yeah, just go ahead and pop these on. Alright, so we got our seals on. Just wipe away any of the excess grease. Make sure the seals aren't folded over or anything. And yeah, if you don't have one of these, you can either buy them in like a bulk pack, or you just put a zip tie on. Don't put it on very tight. Alright, so now we're going to put the damper rods in. We have this one with the travel switch here, the non-drive side. So yeah, just put it on this setting. Make sure it goes all the way out. Doesn't want to come back. And then just go ahead and pop it in. It's the one with the bottom out spring as well. So yeah. Alright, so now you want to flip the fork over. You want to be holding the damper rod while you screw these in. We have our foot nuts at the bottom. Just put a little bit of SRAM butter on that O-ring. Make sure they're sticking through all the way like this, and then go ahead and screw them on. And again, you don't want these very tight. You just want them snug, and you want to just tighten them until you kind of see the damper rods spinning with them a little bit. And yeah, same exact story with the drive side damper. Go ahead, pop it in, and just screw on the nut. Remember, not very tight. All right, so we've got the drive set in. You want to compress this fork all the way down because, as you can tell, this one likes to fall down quite a bit. And yeah, just get it nice and snug, and yeah, there you go. All right, so now you want to compress your lowers all the way up because it's now time to put in the oil. We got some 7.5 here, and you want it to be 70 millimeters from the top of the crown right here. So first, just pour in a little bit of oil because you want to check that those nuts at the bottom aren't leaking. So you just pour it in, wait a few minutes, and hope they don't leak. And as you're pouring in the oil, to get a more accurate reading, you want to push the lowers up and down to cycle out all the air that is in the dampers, because there's a bunch of it. You want to do this, but you don't want to do it too far because the lowers will come off. And on this fork, the lowers are actually held on by the top caps from the dampers. So if you, right now, when the dampers are in, you can literally just pull the lowers right off. Ask me how I know, and you don't want to do that when the oil is in there. And you might be asking, well, how do I know it to stop? How do I know how long to put the lowers down to cycle it out? So thankfully this rod, this damper rod here, stays up. So you want to do it until it's about right here, where this bronze thing is kind of just sticking out a little bit, because that's where it's naturally resting. So just do it up until there and then put it back up. So yeah, to cycle it out, you want to do it about 10-15 times when you're pouring in the oil. And yeah, again, you want it 70 millimeters from the top of the crown. So just grab your tape measure or something. You can use that as a dipstick to kind of see where the oil level is. So you want it just below the wiper seals, about right here, like 10 millimeters below that. All right, so now once you got the air snow nice and cycled out, you also want to do it with the damper rods. Just pull these up and down. That'll cycle out all the air, because it's different when you pull the lowers up and down, when you pull these up and down. So yeah, once you got that on, you want to measure the level with these damper rods all the way down, lowers all the way up. Make sure it's 70 millimeters, and grab your springs. So we have the larger one, the yellow one in this case, that goes on the drive side. So yeah, you want to pull the lowers down and kind of keep this thing up and go ahead and pop it in. And you want to make sure it's just sitting straight, it's not wobbling around at all. All right, so this drive side damper rod is going to want to come down, so you want to kind of keep it here. And you want this compression rod, you kind of want to unscrew it a few threads until they're poking out, because this thing, when you screw on the top cap, it's going to take it with it. You also want to grab your washer, put it on here for the spring, and then go ahead and screw on your top cap. This is the one with the little air valve right there. So, yeah. And remember, to hold this damper rod, you can also use your 11 mil wrench. So yeah. And you just screw on your top cap until it stops. You kind of want these two snug on each other. Not too tight, just make sure it's screwed on and this spring is kind of centered. Yeah, there you go. And on the other side, we have this star thing. That's the thing I was talking about. It's harder to see on the drive side, so I'm showing you here. You just want to make sure that thing is nice and centered. It's not sitting cockeyed, so the spring won't screw up and damage stuff. And yeah, pretty much similar story for the other side. You just want to grab your spring. This is the shorter one. Go ahead and pop it in. And then you also have your spacer and another spacer on here. And again, I'm sure your fork may have different springs, different spacers, different settings. Just kind of make sure you put it on the way it came off, assuming the person who worked on it before knew what they were doing. And then yeah, just grab your other top cap. That's what it looks like, and pop it on. And yeah, once you got your top cap screwed on, you want to make sure they're kind of snug. They move together with the damper rod like this. And yeah, just make sure they're all, the washers are all positioned right. And then just go ahead and pull down the lowers and screw these on. And yeah, just screw on your top caps now. You want to put a little bit of saran butter on these O-rings here to help seal out the dirt and water and stuff. And yeah, once you got your top cap screwed on, you don't want them very tight, you just want them snug. Put on your adjuster caps. We have this one right here with a little lever to change the travel. And the other side has a little air valve, actually. You don't have to put it in. If you put in air, you only need about 10 to 20 pounds. It's gonna make the fork really, really stiff. So if you need that, there's this proprietary adapter, which Marzocchi doesn't sell anymore, which is great. And yeah, you can add some air, but most people aren't gonna need that. So anyway, grab your compression cap and just screw it on. You have the bolt here, and yeah, you don't want it very tight. And yeah, there you go. So yeah, I cycled the fork around. It feels pretty good. I've read in the forums, a lot of people either really hate this fork or really love it. Go out there and find out for yourself, I guess. I think it has the same damper as the Super T, So when you hit like a really big jump, it opens up and it kind of dives a little bit. Some people like it, some people hate it. It's really good, but it's really heavy. Mine weighed in at 6.9 pounds, which is great. It's mainly because of the steel stanchions, but it makes it nice and slippery, which is cool. I also put some of this fork boost lube on here on the seals. Just makes the fork feel a little smoother. I put it on my forks, whether it's a new seal or an old seal. So yeah, I recommend it, and yeah, non-sponsored. Yeah, here's what you want the fork to sound like. And in terms of adjustment, again, I recommend you can just put some air into this hole if you have that adapter, which not many people have. And also, you can also add some oil into the fork. I heard that helps. So here we have our travel adjuster. This is the lower setting right here. If you flip it on there, we're gonna put our O-ring right there so you can see. And then you cycle it around and you pull this thing up and it pops up. And I think it goes from 150 to 130. That's how much the gap is. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, I hope you found this video useful in some way. I'll have all the link to all the seals and other parts for this fork in the description. Again, use my code RETROREV for 10% off for the wiper seals and the oil seals. And yeah, I'll see you guys. Bye.